All right, so we're going to work on the 20G tonight. If you remember, the last video was 2 months ago, and time flies. I literally haven't touched it for 2 months. And in there, we were trying to diagnose why the hydraulic lift wouldn't work. And I started taking it all apart, and I needed a hex key that I didn't own. So I needed to buy one before I could go any farther. So we're going to pick up with that, and we're going to try to take it apart and see what's going wrong.
Oh, look, $2. Perfect. All right, check it out. $2.12 from the old Harbor Freight. It's got the 5/16. It even has a 3/8, and they're short. What do you know? And if I have to cut it, it only costs $2, so I don't give a crap. Awesome. All right, so got the old Harbor Freight short hex key, Allen key here. I was able to get that bottom screw out, and again, you can tell someone's been in here. It's covered with RTV, which it's not supposed to really have. It's supposed to have a gasket, so let me see if I can get this stupid pump off. Oh. Let's see what's flying with this pump. So the question is, does the pump turn? Number one, it's turning, and I actually see oil coming out of it back here while I'm turning it, so I think the pump is good. So why isn't it working on the tractor is the next question. I'm getting ATF all over the tires. Awesome. So let's take a look in here, and what I want to do is actually start up the tractor and see if that thing is spinning. I just have a feeling that all this ATF on here or something jacked out the pump so that it wasn't engaging properly. And there's lots of milky looking brown oil on here. Now, I don't know if I start up the tractor if oil's going to shoot out of there, but I just want to make sure that this thing is spinning and engaging. That's my number one concern here. Like, is there a key that's broken inside this gear here or something like that? It's all marred up like it wasn't properly engaging, I'm going to say that much, but the pump looks like it's working. So either this thing's not spinning or I have a problem with the hydraulic valve assembly. So let's see if we can start it up and check it out.
So, I don't know if you could see in the video, but I was hitting the key off camera before it started and it wouldn't start. And the stub shaft wasn't turning. And I put my finger on it and just pressed it a little bit. And it started to go into the transmission. I'm like, whoa, that shouldn't be happening. Something had to give way internally on that thing. So, we are going to have to pull the engine off to diagnose it. And we got the 8163B parts tractor over here, which I planned on taking the engine off of this thing. So my new goal is to pull the engine off the 8163B rust bucket and to take the gears out that drive the PTO pump and put those into the 20G. In the meantime, we are going to pull the flywheel off the 20G and investigate the magnets for the charging system before we start to dissect the whole transmission and everything. So let's get to it. Listen, this is the old junk parts 8163B over here. And I'm going to bring you down to look at the stub shaft in here. And this stub shaft here sticks out. And you cannot push it in or anything. It's locked in there solid. That other stub shaft, I was able to push in and it won't turn or nothing. I'm pretty sure that what happened is the snap ring, part 34 here, broke off the shaft and it's letting it slide back into the transmission. All right, so back to this tractor here. I got the shroud and the rear guard off the back so I can investigate this stator issue. And I don't know if this thing has the balls to do it, but I'm gonna try to take the bolt off the flywheel here with my Makita. Let's see. Holy crap, it actually did it. I am shocked. That's awesome. So anyways, we gotta set up the puller and everything here and try to pull this flywheel off. I don't know that you can touch the back because the stator goes all the way around. By the way, disconnect your spark plugs before you start screwing with this, because if you turn this thing with the electronic ignition, there is a possibility it could start up by accident or something, so I don't want to take that risk, even though the key's off. My Bendix needs some lubrication too. While I'm in here, I'm going to lubricate it. It didn't want to go up when I was trying to start it, and I can hear it's squeaky, so we'll work on that too. But we got to pull this flywheel, so that's our next step. And this is using a 3/8 fine thread bolt. The holes in the flywheel use a 3/8 coarse thread, so I'll get my puller, and I don't know if I have something that I can just put over the flywheel here, like a little piece of metal, so that I'm not going into the threads with the puller. But that's kind of the next step here, is to pull it off. So let's see what we can find to do that with. All right, so I got my flywheel puller here on there. I kind of rigged up a big nut that I had that covers the whole top of the crankshaft, and I put a little washer on there. I don't know if it's going to work, but we're going to once again test the balls of the Makita. Let's see what happens. I don't know if that nut is hitting the flywheel. Let me try to reposition it upside down. I don't want to bind it up or something, but yeah, it definitely moved a little bit. So let me put the nut on upside down and we will try it again. You see how there's quite a bit of room in there? So let's put this nut on upside down. And we'll make sure it wasn't binding on the edge of the flywheel or something. All right, so let's give it another shot here. Let's see what happens. Oops, I had it in reverse. Oh, I gotta reline it up. All right, let me check my rotation. All right, we're clockwise. Let's try this again. Let's see. Oh. Not working so good. Drill doesn't have the balls. The nut's just slipping on the shaft and it's not staying in the center. So maybe that ain't gonna work. I'm too far away from my compressor for the air line to reach out here. So I was hoping I could use that little drill to pop it off, but I'll use the breaker bar, see if I can do it with that. Man, that thing is tight, man. I don't even want to screw with it. I just want to let it sit the way it is for a little bit. Let some pressure go on there. Oftentimes you got to whack this with a hammer here. I mean, this thing's solid. I'm moving the whole tractor. So maybe I'll just grab a big hammer and give this a pop. I don't think it's helping that my nut and bolt setup here is kind of, what's the right word? Not the best. And I suppose I could thread this bolt back in there tight and press against the bolt head, but I really didn't want to risk messing up the threads inside the crankshaft. That would be a really big problem. So let me give this a tap with a hammer and see if that loosens it up. All right, so I'm back to the tractor and I got my trusty old True Temper stone hammer. I found this on the side of the road one day and it's awesome. Let's give it a couple whacks. Well, it loosened up, but it probably just pushed the puller into this nut that I got on there. That's probably about all it did. So let me get my 3/4 inch wrench on here. I'll give it a little tighten again. And give it a couple more pounds. That's probably what's happening. It's probably just pressing into the nut. Let's see. All right, guys, so I put the breaker bar back on there and I gave it about a 1/4 turn and she popped off. So let's pull this deal off and check out how ugly the magnets are. Come on, baby. Oh. Gotta be careful not to break these plastic fins on the flywheel. In fact, let me pull off the puller before I go any farther here. Let's see. I should have just unhooked the plastic fins first. All right, here's the moment of truth, guys. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, dude. Careful, fins. All right, that magnet's broken. That's dirt. Is that dirt or is that a broken magnet? Yeah, so this magnet looks intact. This is dirt. This magnet looks fine. So it looks like I'm down 2 magnets on my stator here. Here's a piece of magnet. Is this one good? This one seems to be intact. A little rusty, but it's intact. So, you know, I think that I got to get two magnets for this thing. Here's the pieces of that other one. And oh, look, I got lucky. Here's a magnet that was just sitting on the stator, glued to it. And the stator itself is smashed also from the magnets prying against it. I kind of figured that would be the case. So I'm really down 1 magnet. And I don't really know like how you pull a magnet out of a flywheel or not. But there's a guy that sells them on eBay in pairs of 2. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy 2 of them from the guy. And then we're going to JB weld them all back in, and hopefully we should have a good flywheel again. And the stator here, I got to pull the specs on this engine. It's probably a 20 amp stator. And I can easily get a stator or put one that's a replacement on my shelf in here, because that's nothing special. I believe it's the same as a K series stator, so pretty sure I have one of them floating around. But this thing is schmotzed up pretty good, and we are going to have to pull that engine, like I said, so that we can address that PTO gear inside. But fun. Well, I'm checking out the parts list here for the Kohler, and they got this stator over here, part number 1. Come down here, it gives you the part number, 1520 amp stator kit. I don't know what the difference is, whether it's 15 or 20, but see how this one has those 2 blanks? I always thought that was a 15 when they got blanks, and a 20 has the ring all the way around. So anyways, I found one on eBay. It looks really nice for 25 bucks, so we're gonna get it.